Hey, 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 and an extra goodness to you. This is Sporty King, and I say goodness because I don't know whether you're watching morning, afternoon, or evening. But I know you're not watching live because I think StreamYard got mad at me for, for not continuing my plan, and it wouldn't let me go live on Facebook. But I say goodness. Why? Because it's great to have good in front of your salutation. So here I go. Let me get the broadcast to you regardless. That's the way we have to roll. Okay. But hey, welcome to Glue Wednesday. I call it Glue Wednesday if this is your first time with me. I call it Glue Wednesday because so often we hear people say Wednesday is hump day. But you see, that's kind of like old school rules, what I used to say, where we used to just say, hey, you work Monday to Friday and the weekend. We didn't have the term flex time, though there's always been flex time because there's always been someone working in the hospitality industry. That's the restaurants, hotels, public transportation, etc. So some people didn't work Monday to Friday. Some people work Thursday to Tuesday, whatever. So that's the way we have to look at it. But I decided to put a little positive twist because hump to me gives the connotation of the need to get over. When in fact, we don't need to hump. We don't need to get over. We need to find a way to keep it together. So I look at Wednesday as the actual middle day of a 7-day week, traditional 7-day week, regardless of when you work. It's the day that keeps the week beginning and the week end together. So it's the glue. See, we just got to find ways to keep it together. And that puts me in one of my favorite poses, the prayerful pose. And therefore, I decided to let glue equal GLUE. God's love undoes everything. Not that it will tear things apart, but what has been torn apart, God's love will undo that tear and bring it back together. And that's what we talk about every week here on Glue Wednesday. So today, I'm continuing my quick thanks series where each of the messages will focus on one letter, one of the letters of the broadcast series, THANKS. And my thanks is one of my affirmations from my book, Affirmations. And THANKS is the heart always needs kindred spirits. There are over 240 different affirmations in my book, and I call them affirmations because, oh my God, what's that? Anna, affirmations. Oh, acronyms. Acronyms are usually just a word for each letter. And so what I do is I actually bring the word alive by defining the word that I add to each letter, and it becomes an affirmation. So that's why I call them affirmations. You'll find over 240 of them in my book. Feel free to get yourself a copy, okay? I always have what I call a guiding scripture. My guiding scripture for today's message is Philippians 4:6-7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. So along with suggested words from our theme, from my co-authors, Daphne Francis, who gave me the word systems, and Ramona Hopkins, who gave me the word sagacious. Yes, we're focusing on the letter S today. And I will have an honorary co-chair that I'll co-author that I'll mention in a few minutes to marinate the question, thankful for stress? Thankful for stress? But let me first introduce fully a word that some may know, but I'd like to let it take over our path to today's message. It's the word sagacious, which Ramona gave me, and this is the message she wrote when she sent it to me via email. A sagacious person is an intelligent person who has the ability to make good decisions. The word is very timely and has a lot of food for thought since we have food on our minds these days. Have a great weekend, and I'm looking forward to hearing how you marinate this word and work your sagacious talents for next week's Glue Wednesday. She wrote that before I rescheduled last week's broadcast in favoring of my decision to rest after traveling to Dayton, Ohio, to visit my wonderful big brother, James Sledge, my sister-in-law, Dottie, and a dozen nephews and nieces, which included 6 great nephews and nieces. When you have that many cooks in the kitchen, sometimes things can come out wonderful, and they did. Now, y'all know I've got some imported leftovers in my freezer. They will find their way to my plates through February. Meanwhile, I'll find my way back to today's glue, where I've decided to share an inspiration sent to me years ago from my good friend Joyce Salter in Connecticut. So I'll make her an honorary co chair. And the lesson that she sent me called A Lesson on Stress. For my message today, again, of thankful for stress. A young lady confidently walked around the room with a raised glass of water while leading a seminar and explaining stress management to her audience. Everyone knew she was going to ask the ultimate question: is the glass half empty or half full? Full. Well, she fooled them all. She said, "How heavy is this glass of water?" And she inquired that with a smile. Well, answers called out ranged from 8 ounces to 20 ounces. But she replied, "Actually, the absolute weight doesn't matter. It depends on how long I hold it. If I hold it for a minute, that's not a problem. If I hold it for an hour, I'll have an ache in my right arm. If I hold it for a day, you'll have to call an ambulance. In each case, it's the same weight, but the longer I hold it, the heavier it becomes." She continued, "And that's the way it is with stress. If we carry our burdens all the time, sooner or later, as the burden becomes increasingly heavy, we won't be able to carry on. As with the glass of water, you have to put it down for a while and rest before holding it again. When we're refreshed, we can carry on with the burden, holding stress longer and better each time practiced." So, as early in the evening as you can, put all your burdens down. Don't carry them through the evening and into the night. Instead, pick them up again tomorrow if you must. And here are 19 things that go along with how heavy the glass of water is, as well as our carrying and holding on to stress. Some thoughts we may need to just let go of. One, accept the fact that some days you're the pigeon and some days you're the statue. Two, always keep your words soft and sweet, just in case you have to eat them. Always read stuff that will make you look good if you die in the middle of it. And drive carefully. It's not only cars that can be recalled by their maker. Think about that and recognize that. Always know you could be the pigeon, you could be the statue. You never know. But the kind words that you say to people make a difference in your life. Driving carefully is to remind you to get that rest and read something that will make you look good if you die in the middle of it. I like that one, hilarious, because at least that way, maybe you'll have it'll show a good message. You probably should read one of my books now that you mention it. But let's go on. 5, if you can't be kind, at least have the decency to be vague. If you lend someone $20 and never see that person again, it was probably worth it. You know what they also say is, don't lend money that you can't afford to not be paid back. It may be that your sole purpose in life is simply to serve as a warning to others. See, you don't have to be everybody's messenger. Everybody doesn't have to follow you, and you don't have to follow everybody as your messenger. Sometimes what your purpose is to let somebody say, "Hey, I need to go another direction." That doesn't say whether it's a good or bad direction, but know that you have a message that's going to benefit somebody in some way. Similar to how, remember when I said cooks in the kitchen? And a lot of times people say too many cooks in the kitchen will spoil the broth. Notice I didn't give that bad option. We had so many cooks in the kitchen that it came out wonderful. So you have a message to deliver to someone, and it's not necessarily a bad message. Stay confident with who you are. And finally, on that one, never buy a car that you can't push. You don't have to be the Flintstones, But yeah, don't buy a car that you can't push. Okay, I love that one. Yeah, I guess if you buy a Jeep, you're in trouble, or you better have some husky people with you when you go on your road trip. Okay. Next, never put both feet in your mouth at the same time because then you won't have a leg to stand on. That's a good twist on putting your feet, your foot in your mouth, right? This one, not just don't put your foot in your mouth and say something bad. Don't put both of them in there because then you won't even have a leg to stand on. Nice imagery. I got that. Remember, nobody cares if you can't dance well. Just get up and dance. You've seen that one that said dance like nobody's watching. Yeah, that's what you have to do sometimes. Just dance. The fact is, you probably can't dance. I know I don't dance as well as I used to. My niece, Vilori, she used to laugh at me. She said, "Oh, Uncle Sporty, I see your trick now. You just move from the waist up." You have to preserve those legs and my knees, okay? Next, since it's the early worm that gets eaten by the bird, hey, sleep late. All right, the early bird catches the worm, so the early worm gets caught by the bird. Sleep late, get some rest, all right? Okay. And meanwhile, the second mouse gets the cheese. The early bird catches the worm, but the second mouse catches the cheese. Patience, y'all. Patience. You don't have to necessarily be lazy. You can be really good at doing nothing, chilling out. Think about how it's perspective, how you decide to look at your life and how you enjoy your life and what messengers you accept into your life about who you are. And think about this one. When everything's coming your way, maybe you're in the wrong lane. Oop, that didn't click. There it is. When everything's coming your way, maybe you're in the wrong lane. Okay. So think about that. Everything is not going to go right for you. You're going to have some ups and downs, twists and turns, challenges, trials, and tribulations. So really think about that. Now I'm thinking the next one. There we go. Birthdays are good for you. The more you have, the longer you live. Wait, let's go back to the last one because you see what it says. Still texting and driving? See you soon. I've got it down. I got to admit, I'm not at 100% not doing it, but I'm in the high 90s of how often I do not text while I drive. And some of you have called me or texted me during driving. You now see that I get that instant message from my phone, which I don't even know how it set it up, but it says I'm driving, sent by my phone. So I'm glad when I get those. And yeah, it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long. It only takes a second. So don't text while you drive. Meanwhile, let's get back on track. Birthdays are good for you. The more you have, the longer you live. And that's why, I'll always say it's never late. You're going to be your blessing the whole year. So keep having birthdays and keep having that blessings. And remember, some mistakes are just too much fun to make over, to make only once. I like that. I had this backseat driver's license from years ago. I don't even remember where I got it from. But that's the thing that you got to remember. We're all backseat drivers. Or how about have you ever taught somebody how to drive when you're sitting there over on the right side and you got that brake that doesn't really work as you look at what they're doing, holding your breath? I am a terrible passenger. Even when I'm in an Uber, what I do is I try to look out the window because if I look forward, I'm driving thinking, no, they're not going to make that. Hey, so far they've made it every time. All right. So that's it. But I like that. Some mistakes are too much fun to make only one. Some things you got to do again, but don't take that literally. Be smart. All right. Okay. We can learn a lot from crayons. Some are sharp, some are pretty, and some are dull. Some have weird names and all are different colors. But they all have to live in the same box. And that's why I love this picture. Everyone smiles in the same language. So maybe we could do like a box of crayons. And really, a truly happy person is one who can enjoy the scenery on a detour. I do that a lot. If you ever had, I'm going the wrong way, but we're making good time. I don't get upset if I'm going the wrong way. I'm like, oh, well, I've never been this way before. And sometimes I say, hey, I've been lost this way before. I always believe that if I took what was called a wrong turn, that God wanted me to not drive an autopilot the way I was going. And maybe I need to see another direction. I keep myself positive as often as possible. Remember, these are the things that help you bust that stress. And then have an awesome day and know that someone has thought about you today. Every day, know that there's someone thinking about you. In fact, that reminded me, of a poem that I wrote. It's called "You Kept Me Up Late Last Night." I think I'll do that in my Friday gift Friday. I might do that. But it's always about there's always somebody that's thinking about you. Recognize that that is a blessing. You have made an impression on somebody's life, and it's a good chance it was a positive one. Maybe it's a negative one, but it's a better chance that it was a positive one, because even the negatives can be turned into positive. Maybe the negative impression you made is what put somebody in a positive direction. Tough situation, huh? But most importantly, number 19, save the earth. It's the only planet with chocolate. So I want to thank Joyce for that. Save the earth is the only planet with chocolate. Chocolate is wonderful, and it's what we have to do. It's a great stress reliever as well. So ask yourself, what systems do you have in place for the sagaciousness that you need to live the happy, merry, good, blessed, or thankful that you put in front of so many celebrations? Happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, happy birthday, goodness. Have a blessed birthday. Have a blessed week. Have a thankful afternoon. I'm so thankful to have you in my life. How many systems do you have in place for the sagaciousness, the decision that you have to make to live those? And you have to have some systems in place. Those 19 things gave you some things to look at, but what systems do you have in place? Sometimes you want to put a note to yourself, remind myself to say thank you to so-and-so. Everything that you do, say thanks on your to-do list, okay? And so we think back to the message from the woman about the glass, where she said, as with the glass of water, you have to put, and then I put in brackets, stressors. She said you have to put the glass down, but you have to put stressors down for a while and rest before holding them again. They won't necessarily go away, but if you put them down and don't let them outweigh you and overcome you, then they minimize, because the truth is, when we're refreshed, we can carry on with the burden and those stresses, but holding stress longer and better each time that we practice it. So yeah, you can't get rid of all of the negative stress, but you can learn how to handle it. And we have some positive stress in our life as well. Remember, positive stress is where you study hard for a test, you exercise to lose weight, etc. So that's all positive stress. Don't let stress strictly mean negative. Know how heavy the glass is. And so, as early in the evening as you can, put all your burdens down. Don't carry them through the evening and into the night. Pick them up again tomorrow if you must. I'm going to close actually with a message called Trouble Tree. I hired a plumber to help me restore an old farmhouse. And after he had just finished a rough day on the job, a flat tire made him lose an hour of work, and his electric drill quit, and his ancient 1-ton truck refused to start. As I drove him home, he sat in stony silence. I want to restart that because I didn't have the right emphasis. I hired a plumber to help me restore an old farmhouse. And after he had just finished a rough first day on the job, a flat tire made him lose an hour of work, and his electric drill quit, and his ancient 1-ton truck refused to start. So I drove him home, and he sat in stony silence. On arriving, he invited me in to meet his family. As we walked toward the front door, he paused briefly at a small tree, touching the tips of the branches with both hands. Upon opening the door, he had undergone an amazing transformation. His tanned face was wreathed in smiles, full of smiles, and he hugged his 2 small children and gave his wife a kiss. Afterward, he walked me back to the car. We passed a tree, that little tree again, and my curiosity got the best of me. I asked him about what I had seen him do at the little tree when we came in. He said, "Oh, that's my trouble tree. I know I can't help having troubles on the job. Well, but one thing's for sure, those troubles don't belong in the house with my wife and the children. So I just hang them up on the tree every night when I come home and ask God to take care of them. Then in the morning, I pick them up again." Funny thing is, when I come out in the morning to pick them up, there aren't nearly as many as I remember hanging up the night before. You can be thankful for stress by remembering Philippians 4:6-7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God. I want to thank my co-authors and honorary author. And if you'd like to be a co-author of next week's message, put words in the thread that begin with our remaining letters from the word thanks, the T and the N, which will close out my short series and carry us to the end of the year, because the following Wednesday is Christmas and I won't be broadcasting. So if you're receiving this through my email list, you can send me words by return email, of course. Meanwhile, thanks for joining me through another storm, as each day is, for another great week of glue moments and reminders that God's love undoes everything. Not that he will tear things apart, but that what others have torn apart, God will never leave you alone as he helps you put it back together and not hump, but keep finding ways to keep it together, which is what we do each week here on Glue Wednesday, where God's love undoes everything. Have a wonderfully safe weekend, and start out with having a good moment, and then advance it to an hour, and then a day, and then just keep on being good, because goodness is what we all deserve. Thank you. God bless you, and peace. Ciao.